Hello everyone. Our lesson today is past perfect continuous. I've got 6 questions for you. Question 1. What is past perfect continuous? Number 2. How many verbs is past perfect continuous? And number 3. Why do we use past perfect continuous? And number 4. How many types of past do we have? How many types of past do we have? Number 5. Why do we have 4 types of past? And number 6. Can you show me the table for the past perfect continuous? So let's look at the answers. What is past perfect continuous? Now, past perfect continuous is a tense, which is a verb form. So when we speak about tenses, it means we are speaking about verbs. And as I said in my videos, a main verb, is the most important word in any sentence we speak or write. We call it past because it happened in the past and finished in the past. And we use the past form of have. Now, the blue sentence is the answer. So as you can see, had been learning is past perfect continuous. The first word in the past perfect continuous is had. And as you know, had is past of have. And that's why we call it past. We call it perfect because perfect means completed or finished. And been is past participle of verb to be. Been means, the action is, perfect, or it has been completed or finished. And that's why we call it perfect. We call it continuous because when it happened in the past, it continued for some time in the past. So when it happened in the past, it continued for some time in the past before it finished. Also, we call it continuous because we add ing to the main verb. As you can see, learn is the main verb. I add an ing to it, and that's why we call it continuous. So 2 things why we call it continuous. We call it continuous because it happened in the past and continued in the past. And number 2, we add an ing to the main verb. So now we understand why we call it past, why we call it perfect, why we call it continuous. You watch this again if you want to remember the information or write it down. How many verbs is past perfect continuous? Here it is. The blue sentence is the answer. 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 verbs. Past perfect continuous has 3 verbs. The first 2 verbs are auxiliary verbs. So had is an auxiliary verb, been is an auxiliary verb, and learn is the main verb, and we add an ing to it. Of course, learning is not a verb because learning doesn't have a tense. You have to say learn is the verb, and we add an ing to it. So past perfect continuous has 3 verbs. Of course, auxiliary verbs here help us to make past perfect continuous. And that's why we call them auxiliary. Auxiliary means helping. Why do we use past perfect continuous? We use the past perfect continuous for an action which was repeated in the past perfect. The best way to understand this sentence is to compare the past perfect with the past perfect continuous. So let's look at sentence A and sentence B. Had tried is past perfect. Had been trying is past perfect continuous. So what's the difference in meaning? Sentence B shows that the action continued for a longer time than the action in sentence A. So had been trying, it means the action continued for a longer time. Maybe Santiago in sentence B called his friend at least 2 times. So in this sentence, had tried only 2 times. But if I say had been trying, maybe Santiago, had been trying 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, 7 times, at least 2 times, because there is continuity in the past perfect continuous. Continuity. It means the action continued and continued and continued in the past, and then it finished, of course. Now, we use the past perfect continuous for an action which continued for a considerable time. Considerable time is a lot of time in the past, but we do not know if the action was completed. So this is another use. So had cooked, had been cooking. This is past perfect, and this is past perfect continuous. So past perfect has 2 verbs, past perfect continuous has 3 verbs. You can watch my video on past perfect if you want. By 8 o'clock, Savannah had cooked her lunch. So what's the meaning of had cooked? What's the meaning of had cooked? It means Savannah cooked a meal and she finished cooking it. That's it. But had been cooking means this is the meaning. All this, information, explains the meaning of had been cooking. All this information, got maybe 4 lines to explain this. Had been cooking, again, it means Savannah had spent at least 20 minutes before 8 o'clock trying to cook, but we don't know if she finished cooking. We are interested in the fact that she was continuing to cook before and after 8 o'clock. Of course, the action finished because end of the day it is past, but it happened, as I said, before 8 o'clock and continued and continued and continued, and then it finished. But we don't care if it finished or not. We only care about the action. It was continuing and continuing and continuing. It was going on and on and on. Now, next one. Angela had been watering. This is a good example about, the action continuing or not continuing. Had been watering is past perfect continuous. Had watered is past perfect. So if I say Angela had been watering the trees in her garden, this means the soil in the garden was wet after she finished, So she started the action and she continued watering the trees and she continued watering the trees and then she continued watering the trees. So this means if you looked at the trees at that time, the trees would be, the soil would be wet. But if you say had watered, it means we don't know if the soil was wet or dry. And this is the difference. So remember this sentence, all the past tenses happened and finished in the past. And also they give extra information, which is in this table. So past simple, it happened and finished in the past. And most of the time we use time with it, as I explained in my video. You can say in 2007, you can say last year, you can say ago, etc. Past continuous, it happened before the past simple, and past simple interrupted it. So number 1, we have past continuous, which happened and continued, and then the past simple came to interrupt it, or to stop it, or cut it, if you want. Past perfect happened before the past simple. So we have 2 actions in the past. The first action is past perfect, the second action is past simple. Past perfect continuous, it happened and continued for some time in the past, but no action interrupted it. And sometimes we don't know how long the action continued, but we know it happened and continued and continued, and we could see the result. As I said, in my example about the garden, you can look at the soil, it would be wet. Now, how many types of past do we have? We have 4 types of past. Please see the previous table. So this table will tell you we have 4 types of past. Why do we have 4 types of past? Very simple, answer. Each past question, if each past tense expresses or shows more than one meaning. So the answer is so simple. The answer for this question is so simple. Each past tense expresses one or more than one meaning. And as I said, before, you change the tense, you change the what? The meaning. Very good. This is the table for the past perfect continuous. These are the subjects, they are in red. Past perfect continuous is a verb and everything is in blue. So I is the subject, this is the verb. 3 verbs for past perfect continuous. Had been trying. But the good news is it is the same for all subjects. All subjects take the same past perfect continuous. Of course, in the affirmative. Affirmative means positive. In negative, you only put not after had. Had, not, had, not, had, not. Interrogative, you put a question mark, which is a question. You put had at the beginning of a sentence, and then you put subject, and then you complete the sentence. If it is not a question, you say I had been playing. If it's a question, you say had I been playing, and then you continue. These are the words, these are the new words for you. I want you to learn them. Use them in good sentences to show you know how to use the past perfect continuous. Thank you for watching the video. All the best.